check this out, right? Here's a lesson for everybody that's listening. Great wealth, real riches, were never built suddenly, the fast way. Check anybody who has built their wealth. It was never the fast way. So anytime you go on the fast way, you already know you're about to have a lot of fun fast. Get a lot of money fast. Crash and burn fast. For some reason, people never think about the crash and burn part. Hartford, Connecticut. According to the DEA's own website, this is the Drug Enforcement Agency, Vanessa Roberts Avery, United States Attorney for the District of Connecticut, announced that O'Neill Wilkes, a 45-year-old citizen of Jamaica, was sentenced today by the U.S. District Judge Alvin W. Thompson in Hartford, Connecticut, to 384 months of imprisonment. 384 months of imprisonment. Damn. For narcotics trafficking, passport fraud, identity fraud, and money laundering offenses, according to the evidence presented during his trial in November of 2018. Members of the FBI's Bridgeport Safe Street Task Force arrested several individuals, including a person named Louis McDowell. All these people were said to be distributing large quantities of heroin, fentanyl, crack cocaine in and around the Bridgeport, Connecticut area. The investigation subsequently revealed that McDowell was being supplied with heroin and fentanyl and cocaine by none other than the Jamaican plug, Wilkes. He was the man. If he doesn't bring the supply in, everybody runs dry. He supplied the whole town. Wilkes was using a false identity, and he was living in California. Wilkes had also moved from the USA to Jamaica in February of 2014, and then he illegally re-entered the US using stolen identity information for an individual to apply for and receive a Florida driver's license in 2015. And then he got a US passport in 2016. Investigators determined that Wilkes had used his fraudulent passport. This is how good his links were. He was the real deal. They call him the plug. He used his fraudulent passport to travel overseas, to travel to places like Japan and Thailand, China, these kinds of things. Now, I don't know about you, but if I was lucky enough to say make it back into the US on a false document, I'm not traveling anywhere else. I would hate to risk going to some place like Japan and Thailand, and then when I get there, they discover that I'm entering their country on a false document, because then your whole world would be crumbling down. The US wouldn't take you back because now they're onto your scheme, and the US would be like, well, now that you've said it and you've pointed it out to us, that's not actually a US passport. We did not issue it to this person. So where does this person really come from? Send him back to where he comes from. You understand what I'm saying? So with that, I'm saying he was a brave soul, boy. Now you got to think about the tenacity of an individual, right? This man left the U.S. He was not deported. He got in some trouble in the U.S. and he was trying to figure out how to get out of that trouble. So what he did was, according to DEA information, he left the U.S., went back to his home country of Jamaica, and then when he got to Jamaica, He changed his whole identity and came back to the U.S. as a new person with new documents. And he made it back into the U.S. no problem. Then once he got to the U.S., he got a Florida driver's license first. And then he moved up the road. And then he went and got a U.S. passport. That was in 2016. And then after that, he was traveling globally. Japan, Thailand. Yo, you can't make this up. In April of 2019, according to the paperwork from law enforcement, it says that the Jamaican, using his stolen identity, he was stopped by law enforcement officers in Southern California. And when they stopped him, he had 5 kilos of what was suspected to be cocaine in the car he was driving. 5 kilograms of cocaine is a lot of cocaine. You obviously are not going to tell the police that this is just for personal use and I have a drug problem, I need rehab. This is past rehab, go to prison. Now, as the investigation into his drug trafficking activities continued, in July of 2019, investigators then seized a package containing 6 more kilograms of cocaine that was being mailed from California to Connecticut. So the first time they caught him driving in California and they found 5 kilos on him in the car he was driving, they just kept on investigating his operation, trying to find out where you get 5 kilos from. Because the average person does not walk around with 5 kilos. The average street dealer, nickel and dime hustler, corner boy, does not walk around with 5 kilos of cocaine. That's a lot of birds. So they kept digging. And then they came up with 6 more kilos of cocaine. 6 and 5 is 11, right? Right, so now we up to 11 kilos. On August 5th of 2019, this is April of 2019, so I'm giving you a time frame. April of 2019, they found 5 kilos in his car. They kept him under surveillance. I don't know how he got away, but by July, they had found another 6 kilos. That's 11 kilos. And then by August, this is all in the same year, Wilkes was arrested and court authorities seized of 2 residences and a vehicle that was connected to him. 2 houses and a luxury vehicle that was connected to him. And then they found 4 kilograms of fentanyl and items that were used to process and package narcotics, and false identifications, and more than 160,000 US dollars in cash. On December 22nd of 2021, a jury found Wilkes guilty of 1 count of conspiracy to distribute and to possess with intent to distribute 1 kilogram or more of heroin, 5 kilograms or more of cocaine, and 400 grams or more of fentanyl, 1 count of making a false statement in a passport application, 1 count of aggravated identity theft, and 1 count of conspiracy to commit money laundering. Hear me out, right? That fentanyl stuff, that is serious, serious business. Matter of fact, a lot of people have been losing their lives in the United States of America due to fentanyl use. Now, I know nothing about fentanyl. I don't know if there's a clean batch of fentanyl and it's really good, that's why people are addicted to it, or fentanyl is just poison, period. And if it's mixed with anything, it can kill you. I don't know which one it is. All I know is that you can easily look this up on any government drug statistic site for valid information, thousands of people have lost their lives in the United States of America already to fentanyl. So, of course, they're going to be coming down hard on him. And you are not born in America. You snuck your way in. You snuck out when you got in trouble first. You changed up your identity. You snuck back in. I am absolutely sure during interrogation, they were trying to get him to speak on who is his connections. You don't just get to supply a whole city with heavy amounts of cocaine by the kilos, lots of fentanyl, and you have no connections. And he is bringing it all from California over to the East Coast, over to Greenwich, not Greenwich, but Connecticut. Ever since he was convicted in 2021, he had been detained since that time. Now, this investigation was conducted by the FBI Bridgeport Safe Street Task Force, Drug Enforcement Administration, that's 2, Connecticut State Police, that's 3, and Bridgeport Police Station, that's 4, Stratford, 5, Norwalk, 6, Seymour and Trumbull Police Department, 7 and 8. 8 different agencies were on him. Boy, you should have stayed in Jamaica, boy. I'm telling you. 8 different agencies were on you. I think we covered his story before, but now we're covering his sentencing and what actually came out in court. The investigation was assisted by law enforcement in California, that's 9, including the High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area, HIDTA Task Force Group 44, a special group for this specific thing. The Orange County Sheriff's Regional Narcotics Suppression Program, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, and the Culver City Police Department. He had about 11 different law enforcement agencies working together. There was no way that he was going to get away. To all my Jamaican brothers who are coming to the U.S. or who are here already doing it, if you're here already in the U.S. doing it, this is a heads up to say you're only good for a little bit of time, because eventually you'll get caught. And for those who are thinking, I can't wait for reach a foreign, so I can go run off in the drug trade, so me I say control the thing and make whole heap of money. This ain't the movies Shutters, my boy. And this is not back in the 90s or early 2000s. Things have seriously changed. Technology has changed, which has allowed law enforcement groups from many different areas to be able to connect to each other in little and no time at the speed of light. And they'll be all over that ass. Pause. No pun intended. The case was prosecuted by Assistant U.S. Attorney Karen L. Peck and A. Reed Durham through the Organized Crime Drug Enforcement Task Force, OCDETF program. OCDETF identifies, disrupts, and dismantles drug trafficking, money laundering, gangs, and transitional criminal organizations through a prosecutor-led and intelligence-driven approach that leverages the strengths of federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies. Now, here's the thing. I'm thinking, what type of connections he must have to just go back to Jamaica, change up his whole identity, get new papers, fly back into the U.S., because this man did not sneak back into the U.S. He flew back into the U.S., walked through the airport, brave man, with all false documents, and his documents were so good, they cleared. Wow. That was according to the DEA, Drug Enforcement Agency. Let's go over to the news channel out of Connecticut. And it says a citizen of Jamaica was sentenced today, August 15, 2024, to 32 years in prison in Hartford Federal Court on Thursday for narcotics trafficking, passport fraud, identity fraud, money laundering offenses, drug distribution charges, according to a release from the U.S. Attorney for the District of Connecticut. So on August 15th of 2024, just the other day, he was finally sentenced, even though he was found guilty since 2021. How does that work? I thought you were supposed to be sentenced shortly after you were found guilty. He was found guilty in 2021, according to the DEA site, and he was not sentenced until August 15th of 2024. I know it happens, and sometimes when it happens, they will say, okay, you're sentenced to 32 years, but you've been in custody for 3 years prior to your sentencing, so we will take those 3 years off the 32 years as if 3 years already served out of your sentence. So maybe that's what they will do. Now, prosecutor says that Wilkes is 45 years old and he was living out in California. That was his base, as he supplied large amounts of heroin, fentanyl, cocaine to individuals who were then breaking it down and distributing the narcotics in and around the Bridgeport, Connecticut area. The evidence that was presented during Wilkes' trial revealed that members of the FBI's Bridgeport Safe Street Task Force had arrested multiple people who were distributing the drugs in Connecticut, and in the process of investigating, a person whose name was McDowell told them about Wilkes. Wow. You see, even the drug game, right? No loyalty. The streets are dead. Drug game, no loyalty. Gang life, no loyalty. The same people you making money with, the same people who say 10 toes down. You know what I'm saying? I'm standing on all 10. I'm standing on business. If it all goes down, I shut my mouth and do my time like a man. That's a lie. 98% of them, once they get inside of that room and they start looking at them and saying, well, you know, you're looking at about 65 years in prison here. Unless you start talking, we could probably cut that in half. You think they won't start talking? Every able-bodied man is going to be like, my dick still work. I won't be getting no pussy for the next 65 years. Oh, hell no. My children are young. I got a chance to see them grow up. And worse when they start telling them, hey man, you give us the big guy and we'll make sure you do about 3 to 5 years and you up out of here. That man's going to look at his little daughter and say, shit, my daughter 4 years old. If I do 3 to 5 right now, I'll be home before she is 9 or 10 years old. Let me go ahead and knock this out. She won't even remember what happened in the grand scheme of things, and I'll still be here to raise her. So let me go ahead and just give them everybody. And this is how his name, the Jamaican Plug's name, came up. His underboss, the guy who he trusted to take the drugs from him, distribute it throughout, and break it down and control the runnings on that side, is who gave him up. According to prosecutors, Wilkes had been moved. He's been moving around. The way he moves, though, is what intrigued them. They said that just the fact that he was able to, like, go overseas with his documents, with his false documents. Like, you might be, okay, so you get past the U.S. authorities and you walk right into the U.S. and your connections are so good that your fake documents fly under every scrutiny. I don't know if you've traveled lately outside of the country. I travel outside of the country all the time, of the United States of America. And on your way back into the country, do you see how that officer scrutinizes your document, puts it under the light, looks it up and down, left ways, sideways, then they look you up and down, and then you have to stand in front of a camera, a facial recognition camera, and they scan you, picture taken it. He beat all that. So I'm starting to think there must have been somebody on the inside that was helping him. Somebody knows that when he is in the U.S., he is a big dog that have big connections and makes big money, and they get a cut of that big money, so they were helping him to get through. Come on, when they caught him, he had over 160,000 US dollars cash, real money on him. I know people who have worked for years. I know people who have worked longer than I've been alive in this good old United States of America. And if you check their savings, they don't have $160,000 saved up. So how is this man able to just boom, jump back into the U.S. and in no time, bang, 160,000 is in my pocket? That's money I carry around on a daily. That's just spending money. That's just in case money. That's impress a hoe money. That's buy a couple of pairs of shoes for an outfit for a function coming up this weekend money. Take a girl out to dinner money. That's serious. They found him guilty. 1 count of conspiracy to distribute and to possess with intent to distribute. They found him guilty. The fentanyl charges, they found him guilty for the false statement in a passport application. They found him guilty for aggravated identity theft and conspiracy to commit money laundering. But 32 years. Jeez. Listen, I'm going to close this off by saying this. It pays to be the boss. They say it costs to floss, right? And it pays to be the boss, but you have to pay the cost to be the boss. If this is what it costs to be the boss, I don't want to be no boss. I'm good. I don't even want to be a worker. I don't even want to be in the game, sir. 1 day in prison is a lot. Go lock yourself in the bathroom and tell yourself that you cannot come out of that bathroom. You will not be allowed to leave. It's all fun and games for a minute. But imagine staying in there for 32 years. Nah, I'm good. I'll pass. Leave your comments in the comment section below. Let this be a warning sign to anybody that these people, they give away years in prison like how they wrap presents at Christmas time and hand them out to kids. You don't want one of these presents because they always have a space for you inside of one of their institutions. And you know how life is inside of those institutions. I remember that man said, all these young men thinking they out here running these streets. You think you hard and tough. Don't come in here. You come in here, I'ma fuck you. You come in here, ain't nothing in here for you. Ain't nothing in here but testosterone. We just in here fucking and fighting each other. That's all we do. Yeah, that was enough for me. I don't want to go. I'm out. Peace.